season.
Okay, and we appreciate the phone call, and I apologize.
Okay.
And if you do see that it happens to grow more because we have excessive amount of rain, whatever it may be, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and you can ask for anybody on the board. We'll be responsive. So I apologize.
Okay. So you're not expecting until the end of the month for that to happen?
It should.
Well, transfer of titles.
Transfer of titles, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, very good. We'll move on to, there are no presentations for this evening, even though they're on the agenda. We're going to go on to a discussion, Friends of the Portchester Rybrook Public Library. We have it.
Oh, you have it already?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you had it. Okay.
That's okay.
Put that another one.
The only reason this is on the agenda is because it pertains primarily to also the discussion of the Crawford Park policy. Last year was the first time that the Friends of the Library held an event at Crawford Park. It was wildly successful. They had 400 to 500 attendees, but they were nowhere close to being prepared. They had inadequate staff. There was no police coverage. We had no parking support. And it was, quite frankly, it was a difficult time. We put all of our staff in, and we, in fact, brought in additional staff to try and help with the situation to maintain a safe type of environment. We've kind of given them the go-ahead in terms of this year. We've already had a discussion with the library. They are aware of it. They are now mobilizing to contact the Rybrook Police. They've contacted the auxiliary. They understand that they need more volunteers to staff the various things, and we also need a better parking plan. This was the equivalent of Rybrook Day, if you will. You know, the kind of traffic that comes in on Rybrook Day.
Right.
Except with the library, more people drove, whereas with Rybrook Day, a lot of people walk to the park because they live, within a reasonable distance. So we wanted to make sure that the board was aware of it. It caused quite a bit of problems last year, but the library has kind of turned around, and they understand that they have to do something. The issue that I wanted to just raise, and the board should be discussing, is we put a tremendous amount of staff hours in for major events like this. The library is exempt. We don't charge them anything, yet we have 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 or 5 of our people going in there just to support the event, to make sure that the people are safe, make sure that the trash is dealt with, make sure that the parking is dealt with effectively.
So ultimately, Bishop, when we look at this plan, and this is really for the public's information and also for the board, that we may need to look to a resolve that will help subsidize the staffing that we need to provide for these major events. We're not looking to make money, but we're also not looking to lose money, because this affects all of the taxpayers. So that being said, we'll look at that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion from the board on that?
I just wanted to say that I hope that when you go through this, you keep in mind that the will states that that park is for recreation purposes. It's really not supposed to be a money-making facility so much as it is supposed to be the community to use for recreation purposes and for them to enjoy.
Well, we understand that, but I think that, and I agree with you, but what we're looking at, though, is that with that free recreation, we're not talking about charging the family or 10 families coming into the park to use the swings or the field to play with their kids. We're talking about a major event where, not only is the staffing burdened, but our resources are burdened, the police departments are burdened because they weren't really prepared. So really just for big events like that.
Right.
Okay. The next item that's on for discussion is the Coyote hazing program. Bishop, you had a meeting regarding this?
Yeah, I can just, in general terms, the city of Rye coordinated what you would call a Coyote Summit And attending there were law enforcement people, some of the board members from the surrounding communities, all the way down as far as Larchmont, but we had Harrison, Portchester, Rybrook, Town of Rye, Mamaroneck. All of those communities were represented. They brought in an expert from the Department of Environmental Conservation, the DEC, discussed all about the coyotes and what the issues were. They also had a federal wildlife expert there who also discussed it from a national type of perspective. The end result was more or less the hazing program that has kind of surfaced and bubbled up, and you can probably talk a little bit better about that. But the community's been galvanized. All the surrounding communities have been made aware of what we can do. The problem is there is relatively little you can do. They're saying coyotes are here to stay. We have to learn how to challenge them a little bit, and that's the concept of the hazing program.
Okay. Bishop, can you just, I'm sorry, can you just, there was a discussion that the supervisor had with Rybrook regarding this?
Oh, okay. People probably read in the paper, the city of Rye has hired a trapper, an outside trapper, as has the city of Rybrook. Excuse me, the village of Rybrook, I apologize.
And Portchester.
I wasn't aware that Portchester had hired somebody, but the communities have gone out and they've hired trappers and so forth. The town of Rye has not, but the village of Rybrook has offered to perhaps trap Crawford Park, let's say, for a minimal amount of cost. They were going to allow us to participate in the program. It would cost, for example, they're talking about $250 for the remaining 3 weeks that are left. That program is going to end sometime the early part of September. So it'd be $750 is what they're saying. If the town council wants to approve that kind of an expense, they'd be glad to put 1 or 2 traps in Crawford Park. We do have some dense areas. If you go on the website, you'll see that there have been 1 or 2 sightings in Crawford Park or around Crawford Park. I think it's closer to Rye Hills Park. But we do have some heavy underbrush areas. That's, frankly, the environment and the habitat that the coyotes seem to like.
Okay.
One question. I'm a little. I know perhaps you didn't draft this document since it's the Village of Rybrook's program. It says on page 2 that in Westchester, coyote hunting season is October 1st to March 28th. Is there an actual hunting season for coyotes?
It's fur-bearing trapping.
Well,
it's when you can trap without getting a special DEC permit.
Right.
That's different, but it mentions trapping separately.
Right.
Is there hunting? There's actually a hunting season?
I think they're willing to issue hunting licenses during that time period. A lot has to do with mating and just the lifestyle of coyotes, and you're restricted from hunting during other periods of time.
Brochure this year.
All right. I don't think they issue live hunting licenses in Westchester County very often.
Okay, well, says that they have it here.
Be in specified places. You just can't go around shooting,
Precisely.
It sort of implies you can. Okay.
Well, if you read the paper, the city of Rye authorized its police officers to shoot to kill, and the reality was they canceled that program after 3 weeks because it was ineffective. The police found out that there were very, very few times that they could discharge a weapon in the city of Rye and do it in a safe manner. So
I think there would be even less times when a citizen could start hunting during the winter months. But if that's the law, that's the law. Okay.
Okay, so this is up for discussion from the board. Dave?
Is there no comment on the coyotes?
Michelle?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say.
Bob?
No, I don't have anything.
Well, I got a couple things to say.
Okay.
Well, and it just happens to be that this happened at a very unique time. I was looking into this as I heard all this buzz was happening, and the only thing that really came to mind was Crawford Park and these dense areas and sightings around the area. And so I made some phone calls, and I did reach out to one gentleman, and what he wanted to do for us, no cost